Yeah. Hey. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So if we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.
Welcome to Please Remain Calm. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I'm Daniel Gonzalez. As always, folks, the opinions expressed here on the Please Remain Calm podcast are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services.
We also want to thank everybody, as we always do at the beginning of the show, for listening, sharing, liking, and subscribing. The numbers keep going up. We just had a meeting where we realized they need to go up way more, but that's not on you guys. That's on us. But everybody who has been hooking it up and, you know, commenting, sharing, we totally appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.
You know, it's like I've said in the past, man, we started this thing just kind of on a whim. You know, me and Ben trying to decide what the heck we're going to do when acting and comedy, you know, took a back seat during the pandemic. So all the growth and everything that we've had has just been from you guys, you know, sharing the podcast and talking to your people about it, your coworkers about it. We were just talking before the show started how pretty much every shift now I'm going to the hospital and meeting people that are listening to the podcast, watching the podcast, and they're coming up to me and saying, "Hey, dude, you know, I like your podcast. Oh, hey, you're that guy from PRC," and it's like, "Oh, wow, this is really turning into something." Mm-hmm. And that's with like no push in like advertising or anything. So, as always, thank you guys so much for listening. Please continue to listen, continue to share the podcast with your friends, your family. You know, there's some story in here that anybody is going to like, you know, in the 79 plus episodes that we have. So keep sharing, keep liking. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on the episode. All that stuff helps us, continues to help us grow the podcast. So we really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we have another pretty interesting story to jump into this time. I don't know. It's been a little bit harder over maybe the last like 10 shows to have guests that follow what our original format was. Of this is a show where people who got jacked up or had something crazy happen to them talk and tell us how it happened, and then we use it, or at least for the first 30 or so episodes, we were nailing this all the time, where we'd give the perspective of the paramedics or first responders and what they do, and then at the end of it, you, the listener, gets an idea of how an emergency call goes. And if you're ever in that situation, you know, hey, you know, so-and-so on the podcast got through this, maybe I'll get through it too. It might not be that bad.
It might not be. And usually in any of those episodes, you know, something crazy happened to whoever our guest is, right? And then, you know, there's some like chaos on scene and stuff like that. And then boom, at some point 911 gets called and the cavalry comes and saves the day, right? And that's usually where I come in and I'm able to, you know, talk about you're able to talk about the hospital and stuff, and we look real cool in these episodes, right? What we don't really talk about a lot is how many times people get injured, get hurt, get sick, really sick, and don't call 911.
Like adamantly refuse to, like, do not call. No, I do not want an ambulance. I'm going to work this out. It's going to be okay, you know?
And there's like a ton of reasons why people would do that, you know, whether it's financial, you know, you don't have insurance, you know, ambulance bills, depending on like what you get done. If it's a BLS, a basic life support trip, an ALS trip, just checking the ALS box on our run sheet, as opposed to the BLS box, adds like $1,000 to the trip, you know?
Part of my job is ordering transportation for people getting picked up out of the ER or hospitals, right? And the doctors will just throw around, get a helicopter, get a vent, get a nurse. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, like, this is 50 grand, 80 grand. You know what I mean? Dude. And like, does this guy really need this right now? Like this, the money just gets thrown around with transportation for medical emergencies.
Well, it's like the same thing. It's the same thing with us on the paramedic side, because like, let's say I get a run, somebody has been sick, right? And they're throwing up and they got diarrhea and it's been going on for days, right? And they're just like really sick. They finally call 911. Okay. If somebody is weak and dizzy, technically we're supposed to make it an ALS call, right?
Right.
Check the ALS box on there. You start an IV, right? And transport them to the hospital. It's an ALS transportation to the hospital.
Paramedics.
If a BLS rig, like an 800 or something like that for LA City, the BLS ambulances all start with 800. It's called the 800 series ambulance. If a BLS ambulance were to come out on that and the guy says, "Hey, I'm weak and I've been sick. I've been throwing up like crazy. Really, that's all. I just feel sick." but I'm weak and I'm dizzy, they have to call out an ALS ambulance, which is what I do, right?
Right.
To come out and evaluate this person.
Right.
They could be having a heart attack. The BLS rig doesn't have an EKG to look at that, right? There could be something more serious. Their blood sugar could be low, right? The BLS rig doesn't have blood sugar to give. They can't push those medications. I can, right? So technically, you're supposed to make that an ALS call, right? But if I get there and I check everything out and your EKG is normal, right? And your blood pressure is normal and stuff like that, that's a decision that I make personally as a paramedic to go, well, this has to go ALS because technically it's an ALS call, right? But if I just keep it BLS and I transport him myself and take him in, I'm saving this person $1,000 basically. You know what I mean? It's taking their $1,000 little, I'm sick and this has gone too far. I'm not really sure what to do. I need to go to the hospital. And there's no real reason why they need an IV or anything more advanced, right? It's just me making the decision to check ALS or BLS, whether or not they get charged an extra $1,000 a night. It's insane to me, right?
Or to tell them that they can get a ride.
Oh, yeah. So that's a whole nother thing, right? Used to be back in the day, you called 911 and it was something that like wasn't a big deal. They would go, hey, listen, we're not going out for that. You know, you stubbed your toe 3 days ago. You need to go take yourself to the doctor. We're not doing that, right? At some point, I mean, we've talked in the past about the fire department being reactionary, right?
Exactly.
They changed their policies and stuff based on like shit that went wrong in the past on some call. Somebody died because this happened. Boom, here's a new policy. Somebody fell off the tailboard of the rig. Boom,
now
we don't
do
go
this.
on the tailboard, right? Shit, what was I talking about? I lost my train of thought. Oh, sorry. Damn it, where was I going with that? What was I saying?
You were talking about like what changes with the fire department.
Oh, okay, yeah. So somewhere along the line, somebody called and said, "Hey, I ran into the corner of the table, 4 days ago, and God, this side has been hurting a lot since then." Oh, it happened 4 days ago. Listen, we're not going to go out for that. You need to go to the hospital. Oh, shoot. Okay. All right. Fine. And on the way to the hospital, that broken rib that pierced his lung, that's slowly been collapsing his lung, finally takes over and he collapsed, and somebody else called 911. They showed up and it's cardiac arrest and oh shit. And then they review it and this guy called 911 and they didn't come out, right? Or his wife goes, well, he called 911 and the operator said they weren't coming.
No.
Okay, so you know what? We're sending on everything. So like dad, right? I'll be talking shit, or I'll go to visit dad, mom and dad or whatever, right? Or pick up the boys and cruise over there, just like say hi. And, if I worked the night before and I was up all night and I've got shit to do in the day and stuff like that, I'm tired, pretty much 70%, 60% tired, like all the time, just because of my job, right? And dad always talks shit to me, right? Our dad was a fireman for 32 years, retired about 10 years ago, but he's always like, shut up. I did that for 32 years, but
it was a different world, man.
A completely different world. We run twice as many calls now than they did even 10, 15 years ago when dad was on the job, right? And it's really because of that. We don't have a no send policy, right? You call for somebody calls, you know how many times I go on, hey, there's a guy laying down on the sidewalk right next to a tent. Yep. In Venice. Yeah. Okay. Like
Venice.
The highest the second highest population of homeless in the city of LA, right? Yeah. There's a guy laying down on the sidewalk next to a tent. Okay. And we get it as that person down. Man laying down on the sidewalk next to a tent. Caller refuses to approach the patient. Okay. Yeah. And you show up, you hit your air horn, and the guy looks up and you go, "You all right, dude?" "Yeah, I'm fine. You don't need the paramedics?" "No." "Okay, see ya." And we drive off. Right.
Every morning.
But it's a call. We had to jump on the rig. We had to drive there emergency. We had to put everybody that's on the road at risk because we're going opposing traffic. We're running through red lights, all that stuff, right?
Taxpayer resources are being used.
Everything. Fuel for the city. Yeah. You know what I mean? Wear and tear on the rigs, all that stuff. Our hourly wages, the calls that we missed because we're going on that call and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. Yeah. It's the majority of the stuff that we go on.
Yeah.
Is
since
just
you never
BS.
know. That's what I mean.
And you
it's
never
always
know.
that. But then also with dad's generation, they were able to refuse transports once they showed up too. And now you always have to offer a ride for the most part.
Yes. And that kind of changed during the pandemic. Like now, and that's kind of like my MO, right? I'll show up, I'll check everything out, right? I worked for a year in 61's district, which is like mid city, right?
Yeah.
Beverly Hills,
Miracle
a lot
Mile.
of Miracle Mile, right? A lot of a very deep Jewish community, right? Every house has grandma and great grandma and great grandpa in the back room, right? And so every call that I went on there was 85 years old or older, right? So when I worked there, I got used to just like doing everything. If I show up and I'm the paramedic, I'm going to check everything on you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cut any corner. I'm going to check everything because you're not going to be the one that I miss one thing on.
Yeah.
And you're 90 years old with 100 medical problems and you die and they turn back to me and go, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you check this? Right.
Right.
So I got used to just doing that. So when I show up, like let's say somebody doesn't have to go to the hospital, right? We're required to offer them a ride.
Yeah.
I will go through, I will check everything. Your EKG, all your stuff, your vital signs, have it all right there for you, right? And then I will turn that thing toward you and I'll say, okay, this is what we have. You called for chest pain, blah, 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 or you called for whatever. This is what I checked. This is your blood pressure is good. Your oxygen saturation is 99%. It's better than mine. This is your EKG. It looks perfect. It's 100%. There's absolutely no blurbs on it. Your blood sugar, blah, 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 blah. I'm happy to take you to the hospital if you want to go. Okay. I don't see a reason why you need to go in an ambulance to the emergency room right now. You can make an appointment and see your doctor, or you can take yourself if you'd like. But I'm happy to take you if you want to go in an ambulance with me.
And
right?
specifically how you word that is how you have to word that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because at that point, if I just explained everything to you and how you don't need to go in an ambulance, and it's clear as day that you don't need to ride in an ambulance, an ALS ambulance to the hospital, and you still say, I want to go in the ambulance, let's go. Because if I leave you, you're going to find some way to either call back or call and complain that I didn't take you to the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. Or heaven forbid, you just know, sometimes people just know something's up and or they feel something coming on, a seizure or a heart attack, and they're just like, I just don't feel good. Heaven forbid they feel like that. You tell them everything's normal because everything looks normal. And then you leave them there and then the event happens,
Right.
and you come back 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later. That's happened too.
Yeah.
Plenty of times.
Yep.
Right? Hey, we checked everything, sir. Your EKG looks normal, but I've been having this like weird shoulder pain. It's probably just shoulder pain. You probably tweaked a muscle or a tendon or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I think everything's good. Your EKG looks good. Blah 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 blah. An hour later, you come back on a cardiac arrest because he had a heart attack. So I've been around long enough where I've seen enough of those happen to people at other stations and and other rigs that I'm just like. And
not me. No.
Things like that have happened to me too, though. Not to that extreme.
Yeah, but when you're younger,
when I didn't have this mindset, right, and left somebody and then got called back, an hour later because they're worse, and it's like, oh shit, I guess I should have taken this guy an hour ago,
Yeah.
So, all that being said, there are people who need to go in an ambulance. They're having an event. I'm not going.
Yeah.
Right. But sir, this is your EKG. You're having a heart attack. Okay.
Yeah.
It says it right here. ST elevation. That means you're having a heart attack right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I cannot in good conscience leave you here by yourself. Okay. I'll tell you a story about the worst AMA that I ever AMA'd. Because when somebody doesn't want to go, man, you're an adult.
Yeah.
You can make the decision not to go to the hospital.
You have the option to sign a paper against medical advice. I don't want to go. You refuse. Like, okay, you did it.
And we're required. There's very specific things that we're required to tell you, right? And one of those specific things is I need you to be aware that refusing to go to the hospital, you are going against medical advice. And there is a chance, a possibility that you could die if I leave you here and you don't go with me to the hospital. Do you understand that?
You have to tell them.
You have to tell them that. Okay. Yeah. Not only that, but you also, when you do an AMA, you have to call the base hospital.
Let them know. Yeah, that's right.
And you have to run down. It's a recorded line with the base hospital. And you have to run down to an MICN, which is like an RN that's trained to do these radio calls. You have to run down your entire run for that nurse, right? You tell them, hey, this is Rescue 63 with an AMA documentation. Yeah. And you break down the entire call. We've got a 50-year-old guy here. He's been having left shoulder pain for 3 days. He has no trauma. Blah, 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 blah. And you run down his EKG shows ST elevation, possible STEMI, blah, blah, blah. These are all his readings of elevation, 1.4 on this lead, 1.5. You break all that stuff down. You can send them through a modem on the machine, the actual EKG, so the doctor can review it. Give him all his history, allergies, meds, all that stuff, right? I made the gentleman aware that if he refuses treatment and transport to the hospital, that he could possibly die. He's still continuing to refuse. You know, and you break down. Then they usually talk. Can I talk to the patient? Yes, here you go, sir. And the nurse, because it's a recorded line, right? The nurse gets on, explains everything again. Do you understand that this is dangerous? You could. Do you have a plan to get care if you're not going in the ambulance? Because a lot of times people will tell him, I can't afford it.
Yeah,
I cannot afford a $3,000 ambulance bill. Period. I'll have my friend take me. He's sitting right here.
Yep.
You know, and you gotta. And it's like me personally. I'm like, fuck, I get that, dude.
Yeah.
I get that, right? But it's like, dude, I understand that. But if your friend takes you and something happens there, you're just a dead body in your friend's car. You know what I mean? Calling 911, waiting for me to come.
Stopping at red lights.
Waiting for me to come to the intersection that you're at, right? Something happens to your friend with me in the back of the ambulance. I'm there to help and fix it right now.
Here's the other thing though too, dude. It happens after people get to the hospital. I had just the other day a guy at the burn center. He had 3rd-degree burns all up his hand and arm. He needed to be admitted because they'll tell you because there's only 3 burn centers. If you don't need to be admitted to the burn center, peace. Come back tomorrow. We'll check on you every day. I don't care. If you don't need a bed, you don't get a bed. They told this guy, get admitted. You have a 3rd-degree burn all over your hand. He had a puppy at home and nobody take care of the puppy. He's like, I can't stay in the hospital. Goes home, shows up at UCLA a couple days later. Same thing, 3rd-degree burns. He has to go to the burn center. I get him set up to the burn center again. Oh, he's refusing. Nobody can take care of the puppy. You know what I'm saying? So who knows what's going to happen with this guy's hand, but puppy.
And actually, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because sometimes it's something trivial. No, not trivial, but like seemingly unimportant, right? Like we've had that before where, you know, got called to a car. Guy was in his car, chest pain, legit STEMI, right? And we're like, dude, you got to go to the hospital. And he's got his dog in the back seat. We mitigate that for people, man. If it's like, we'll adjust and go out of our way to help somebody out if they need to go and they can't because of some reason, right? Just the other day,
giant
we had a
wheelchair.
What's that?
That's a big one. When somebody's in a big electric wheelchair.
Dude.
Then you got to figure out how to take the wheelchair.
That was a big one, especially with the homeless.
Yeah.
A lot of homeless with those wheelchairs too, right? Oh shit.
Crazy, man.
Yeah. So it's there's different levels, right? So then you have the people that don't want to go. They have something serious that they should go and they don't want to go for whatever reason. It's usually cost. Yeah. Sometimes it's, you know, or it's like, oh, my husband died in that hospital. I'm not going there.
Yeah.
You know,
could be all kinds of things.
Your husband had a massive stroke, you know, but it's like, okay, all right. Yeah. But when it comes down to it, man, if somebody doesn't want to go, doesn't want our help, they have every right to refuse. Okay. Yeah. I had a guy, I'll tell this one story and then we'll introduce our guest and get into his story here. Working Fire Station 57 in South Central, right? We got a shooting. Okay. Guy's sitting in a car, parked in front of his girlfriend's house. He was dropping his girlfriend off. Somebody walking down the street, open fire through the windshield of the car. Okay. We pull up, the girl is dead. She got the majority of the shots. He had 2 gunshot wounds. He had one through and through on his arm here, and he had one right here in his chest. Okay. With no exit wound. Yeah. And he's awake, you know, alive, talking, up, walking around, obviously distraught. You know, his girlfriend was just killed. This terrible thing happened. Worked up, excited, and just refused to let us even check him out. Right. If finally, after being there for like 10 minutes and following him around and trying to get him to allow me to at least
you're
take
just
his
looking
blood
at this hole.
Dude, he's got blood all over his shirt. All over his shirt is covered in blood. Right. Yeah. I go, dude, you are shot, man. Let me at least see where you're injured and bandage you up, bro. If you don't want to go to the hospital, you know, okay, we can talk about that, but let me stop this bleeding right now. Right. Get his shirt off. Bandage him up here. The active bleeding had stopped, but clean him up. And that's how we, you know, usually someone's covered in blood. You got to clean them off and see exactly where the holes are. Yeah. And you got to count how many holes, how many entrance wounds, how many exit wounds, all that stuff. So the doctors know if there's a bullet still in there or, you know, basically what they're dealing with. So we look through and you can see the entrance, exit, you know, in his arm, bandage that all up. And he had the entrance here and no exit. And I'm like, hey, bro, you got shot in the chest, man. We got to take you to the hospital. I'm not going. Okay, look, I get that you're upset, man. I get that you're upset, but listen, Adrenaline is a crazy thing. I don't know if you're not feeling it as much right now because of the adrenaline, but that's going to wear off, man. And you have some pretty important stuff underneath where you got this bullet hole. You know, you got your lungs there. You got your heart. You can nick your heart. There's a bunch of vessels there. You have to go to the hospital. I ain't going, man. Fuck that. I ain't going. Oh, my God. Cap. Call our captain over. You got to talk to this guy, man. He's got to go. He's got to talk to. I'm not going. Call the EMS captain out.
Yeah.
Hey, Cap, this is what we got, man. This guy's got a GSW to the chest, and he's refusing. He wants to AMA.
Crazy.
EMS captain, self-deployed, it's the middle of the night, comes out, has a full conversation with the guy, breaks it down. You know,
You're like a half hour in at this
oh,
point. at
easily,
least,
dude.
right?
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Is
Half
this
hour,
a
40
bullet
minutes.
in his chest.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
And nope, dude. He would not go. Get on the phone. Call the hospital. UCLA base, rescue 57. I got a doozy for you. It's an AMA documentation. This is what we got. I break it down for him, right? Let me talk to the patient. Hand him the rig phone. And he's just like, nope. Yeah, I'll go get checked later. But nope, I got some shit to handle.
He wants to go kill that guy.
Right? And what can we do, man?
Yeah. Like we got another run 3 hours later, the other guy.
Yeah. UCLA basically said, all right, they got back on. They go, look, you know, he finally let me take his vitals. His vitals were okay, actually. And they go, I mean, sign him out, AMA. I mean, what can you do?
John Wick.
Yeah, what can you do? They've kind of changed that a little bit. I'm not really sure, like legally, what they can do now. But like now, when we get an OD, we used to get ODs, right? Like heroin ODs, and we'd push Narcan, and people wake right up, and they're 100% alert oriented, and they're like, I'm not going to the hospital, you know. And what can you do? They're answering all questions appropriately. They're fully awake now. Yeah. Well, people started continuing. You know what I mean? Narcan only lasts so long, and especially with fentanyl now, you could take it, wake up, and then go back into an OD. So now when we call for AMAs on ODs, the hospital will go, nope, you need to get PD out there, get an EMS captain out there, put them on a hold if they if they refuse to transport on ODs only though.
Oh wow.
So there must have been some study or some info that came out.
Definitely didn't see that shit.
Yeah. But but yeah, man, a lot of times that happens. People get injured, people get hurt. They don't seek care until, days later when they realize, oh shit, this ain't going to heal or whatever. Yeah. And that can be dangerous, man.
You pay the price sometimes.
Depending on what your injury is, just like our guest. Yeah.
All right. So our guest today is a man who did not call 911. He did remain calm, I guess. He did. For hours. Yeah. Refused care, let it ride. And has basically a permanent injury now.
Yep.
Based on something. So our guest today, introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Yarma, otherwise known as Yarma Crazy online.
Yarma Crazy.
Content creator, entrepreneur, business owner.
There you
whatever
go.
You guys want to say. I do it all. I just have a quick question before I pick up on my story about what you guys were talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it more dangerous when the bullet hole, like when the bullet goes through, or if it stays in?
If it stays in. So it really depends on where you're shot.
Depends on where it went. Yeah.
Well, it really depends on where you're shot, right?
Yeah.
If through and through, if it hits the right thing, you're screwed.
Dead.
If it comes in here and nicks your aorta or something like that, you're going to bleed out before I even get there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But typically when a bullet, especially like a small caliber bullet, man, if it goes in, it'll hit and it'll ricochet around in there. Or it'll hit a bone and change direction and go down. And so you can damage a lot more things in there with a bullet that goes in and rattles around. You get what I'm saying?
Shit,
Yeah. Mark's worried about you with that question. You want if you've been shot now? Do you currently have a bullet inside you?
Yeah, no, I don't. I was just curious though.
You don't know what else you refused care for, dude.
There's actually no, because you actually did bring it up, and there was one time where I refused care for a shattered ankle, strictly because of a pet though.
Yeah.
I was.
That's like one of the main reasons we get why people don't want to go.
Yeah, because I just got the cat.
Yeah.
Like literally just got her. She was 2 weeks old, and I was
a
not
cat
about to leave her.
is self-reliant though.
Yeah,
the cat is self-reliant.
They'll
They'll clean themselves, go out and hunt a bird down.
She was a kitten though.
Okay.
Like 2 weeks old. I was not about to. I mean, also it was like an ankle injury. I've broken my bones down here before, so like I knew it wasn't that serious. So I was like, I'll just go in a couple days. The next day I woke up, my ankle was like this big.
Yeah.
You're just looking at a cat.
There's so many little bones down there, man. You never know.
But at least I have a cat.
Yeah.
I mean, now I can't really run that well because of that. But hey,
you only run in circles?
That'd
It's
be
a
pretty
cautionary
funny.
tale, man.
It's a caution.
Wow.
I mean, I guess the one story I really am here to tell is This one, I think it's right on my hand, my right hand. I can't feel my index finger and my thumb anymore. It's just actually like lost all the feeling.
The whole side of that hand?
Yeah.
Basically?
It's just like
the
gone.
base of your
there's a
thumb?
little smidge like right here where I could feel something, but like the tips, like here and all this is gone.
So take us through the incident. What happened?
So I was smoking some weed.
Smoking weed. And this is where?
This is in Berkeley.
In college?
So
Yep.
many
Yeah,
deaths.
this is at home.
Start
Weed?
with that.
Wait.
No.
Weed in Berkeley? What are the odds?
So yeah, I was smoking some weed, and I went to go clean my bong, and I mean this bong that I had, I've had it for a while, and it broke one time, so I used like an epoxy to like fix it,
Yeah.
and it's stuck together.
College life, man.
Yeah.
College life. I mean, because you don't want to spend another like $300 on
Yeah,
a
exactly.
bong, right?
Where
So I
are
used
you
the-
buying your bongs, dude. Wow, this was something
It
special.
was
It was like a
a
vase.
Well, exactly. That's
No
why,
wonder you
like,
put it back
that's
together.
why I put it back
Yeah.
together because
Yeah.
it was a nice bong.
Repaired
it's
it with
not
gold.
just, like I wasn't ready to let go of it. And so I went to empty out the water, and so it broke in the middle, and that's where it was epoxied, and the glass, as I was like emptying it out, just like snapped again,
Yeah.
and it went into my hand.
Oh, wow.
And like at first I didn't realize what was happening. Like I was just like, okay. And then like
Yeah.
it took me like a solid like, couple minutes to realize that there was like a chunk of like huge piece
Especially
of
because
glass.
did it bleed right away? A lot of times when you cut with glass clean like that, it doesn't bleed right away.
Yeah.
It'll be like white for a minute.
But
and
he
you're
said
like,
it
oh
wedged
shit.
in, I
It
think.
really started
was stuck
bleeding
in
when I
there?
put it underwater.
Ah.
That's when
got it
when
going.
I put it underwater. That's when I was like, oh, this is fucked. Because like when you have a cut, like you can put it underwater and it like feels fine. But like when I ran it underwater, like the inside of my hand felt the water.
Oh, like this ain't good.
Like, so
There's
I
a
was like,
channel.
this is not good.
That's the last feeling you remember.
Yeah,
that
there.
hand was water from
Right.
it.
So I called my
Yeah.
roommate because my roommate wasn't home. His girlfriend was home though,
Yeah.
and she doesn't drive. And she was like, "Just call the ambulance." But I mean, as you guys know, like when something happens, you get like some adrenaline, but like the shock, so you don't really feel the pain.
Oh yeah.
So you're just like standing there, just like looking at it, like, "Oh my god,
So-
that's kind of
Yeah.
crazy."
I'm sorry. So you had a big piece of glass basically like wedged in the palm of your hand, like between your thumb and your
Yep,
like
right
index
here.
finger.
You see the scar right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it still wedged in there?
Yep.
No
It's
shit.
just
Yeah.
stuck hanging out like an iceberg.
It was there for a minute until I took it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was I supposed to take it out? Was that not a good move?
Eh.
I mean,
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
I took it out because like I needed to cover the wound.
Yeah.
It was like bleeding a lot.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my roommate kept on, not my roommate, his girlfriend kept on like yelling at me to like call an ambulance. And I was like, I'm not
On the
going
phone?
to call. No, because
Oh, she was there.
Home. She was
Okay.
there.
Oh, okay.
And she doesn't drive, so I couldn't like tell her to do anything. And
Yeah.
She was like, just call the ambulance. I'm a student. Also, it's 19. I don't have $3,000
Yeah.
to spend on an ambulance. And also, granted, I'll be honest with you. Yes, I was on health insurance, but I'm not gonna call my parents and be like,
Yeah.
"What's the plan?
Yeah, what happened?
Like, what's happening? Like,
How
that's
did you
not
cut
gonna
your
happen."
hand,
And you
son?
have to explain what happened.
Yeah, exactly. So that's not it. That wasn't good. So I was literally, I would say, running around for like a good 30 minutes with like my hand. But at first, I thought it was actually kind of cool because like this is
Yeah.
like the most like. I've had some like pretty gnarly accidents, but this is the
Mhm.
one that I've actually been awake for and like been able to like witness it and shit
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I'm like, oh my god, that's fucking crazy. And then when my roommate finally got home, because I had to give him a call,
Yeah.
because after his girlfriend kept on yelling at me to get an ambulance, I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Blood
not
all over the house
Doing
now.
that.
So you never wound up calling
Never-
911 or
never
anything like
called
that.
911.
Berkeley doesn't have like school EMTs or anything like that. I know LMU does that.
They do.
Yeah.
I that's not what you're thinking about. To
Yeah.
be honest with you. I mean, in that situation,
Especially
I
when you're
wasn't
19,
thinking
it's the
about
first
that.
time anything
Yeah.
like this has ever happened. You know?
Did you want to
I-
try to stitch it up yourself?
No, that was the stupid part. No, that's a good part actually. I just like literally sat with a cloth for like a good like hour and a half, 2 hours until my roommate got home,
Yeah.
and he took me to the hospital. I feel stupid though because the hospital I could have walked.
Oh,
It was like a
far was
5
it?
minute drive.
So you were high then when
it
this
was like,
happened.
it was like a 5-minute
No.
drive. It was like pretty embarrassing, but he got me there. The
Were you
doctor,
pretty
he looked
lazy,
at
though?
it.
No.
What's up? Yeah, I was lazy, but the doctor looked at it and he's like, "Are you okay?" And because it didn't look like a fresh cut anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it looked like by the time I got
Scabbed a
there,
little. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it scabbed a little, but there was like some pus. Like I don't know what.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, sure.
shit.
little
Yeah.
tissue.
It was like coming out of the cut,
Yep.
and like it wasn't really bleeding. So the doctor looked at me like I was crazy. He asked me like how long. I was like waiting on the cut, and I told him. He told me I should have just called an ambulance. I ended up getting staples.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's like.
but no surgery. They didn't do any surgery or anything.
No
like that?
surgery. I mean, they asked me if they told me that there was going to be nerve damage, and I had to go back like 6 months later to do the nerve test on my hand.
Yeah,
and they did like get me. They said that we could do like nerve therapy. I don't know exactly like what that is, but also I'm not going to pay for that.
Yeah,
because
I was going to say if they offered you surgery, you were going to say hell no. Anyway,
because I'm like, my hand's still usable. I still do everything.
You just can't feel.
I don't need to feel these two things. I'm okay. You know. I don't feel like I'm missing out. So yeah, that was my story. And granted, honestly, if I'm 26 now, I do have a car, and my life is like somewhat together. And if this happened again, because I still smoke and I still have bongs, I'm still not calling an EMT. I'm still probably gonna drive myself to the hospital.
Wow.
The good thing, I will say this, man. The good thing about like the 911 system, at least here in LA, or at least with the LAFD, is you don't get charged unless we transport you. So if it does happen, if anything ever happens, and you're in the city of LA, I can't really speak for other departments, Culver City, Santa Monica, Beverly Hills, LA counties here in West Hollywood. I'm pretty sure they kind of run the same way we do, but we only charge for the transportation. Even if we treat you with, like, let's say you have an asthma attack or something, we show up and we give you, a treatment of albuterol, and we use O2 and all that stuff, right? If we don't transport you to the hospital, they don't bill you for it.
But honestly, it's not even just like the billing part. It's like I just don't have a great history with ambulances.
Oh, really?
Like, my first experience with an ambulance was literally I guess they probably have like this in like parts of LA, like in the hills, like there are like units in the hills that like the ambulances like stay at, so they can have like closer access to those.
Little like staging areas. Yeah.
So like growing up, I grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut, and literally right across the street from our house was one of those stationary units. So they can come in, because we lived in backcountry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like 7 years old, and I was doing backflips into my pool, and my pool had like a cement edge.
Yeah.
Missed it, cracked my head in half.
Dude.
The people even there at the station said that they wouldn't be able to take me because of like risk of like movement. So my parents had to literally put me into their fucking car and drive me to the hospital. And like that's part I don't really get. That's what I'm saying. Like I just don't fucking
I don't know,
get
That
it.
doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
New York, man.
Yeah.
No,
You
this
New
is
York.
actually in Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut.
So
Sorry.
this is like, and that's
in
the part like,
country.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You
that's
did
like
say
the,
that.
and it's not even that far back country, bro. It's like a 15-minute drive to the hospital.
I was gonna say.
And so like the fact that like my parents had to drive me to the hospital instead of people who were
That's kind of odd. I wonder
literally right across the street. That doesn't make sense to me. And
that's
like,
weird. It's funny though, because I don't know, man. A majority of the time when somebody doesn't want to go, it's some kind of story like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, when I don't mess with ambulances,
Right?
man. When I was 10, this guy was a jerk to me, or you know what I mean, or
They made my parents take me.
That's one we always get with the old people. Ambulance came and took my husband, and I never saw him again, so I'm not getting in there. It's like, okay, lady, but you are dying. You know what I mean? Like,
dying.
please let us take you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it sucks. It's funny though for us, because that's all we do all day is transport people to the hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like I said, we run, maybe half our calls are complete BS, where the person didn't need an ALS ambulance to show up and even check them out. Everything's perfectly fine, or somebody called. You know what I mean? So I don't want to take you to the hospital. You know what I mean? Especially
It
if
works
it's something
out great. Yeah.
especially
if
if
nothing's
it's
wrong with
something,
you and you don't want to go, hey, thank you.
especially if it's something that's like not. It's serious enough to probably go and get checked, but it's not that serious where you're going to get bump up,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, when you get triage and stuff like that. So I can't leave until you get a bed, basically, unless they stick you in a waiting room, right?
You can't leave until we have a bed?
No. If I take a patient to the hospital, I wait there until they get checked in and get a bed, right?
Because somebody has to be responsible for you as the patient now. So if they don't have if you don't have a bed,
Monitoring
there's no
you
one for
and
them
all
to
that stuff.
assign you to.
Now, sometimes when you're a BLS, like a basic, a stub toe, or, a small cut on your hand or something like a bandage, and you're able to walk and you're fine, all your vital signs, they'll put you in the waiting room. And you can wait there and we take off.
Actually, quick question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I was knocked out when this happened to me, and I've always wondered what that experience was like. And as EMTs, I don't know, maybe if you guys have had this, getting a helicopter to like off a mountain. I was skiing, and they didn't take me to the hospital in Vermont. They took me to the hospital in New Hampshire instead. Why?
That was probably closer. Or there's different things that different hospitals can do. So maybe the hospital that was closer to you couldn't handle trauma, and you probably, if you were knocked out skiing, then there's certain places you can go to that'll have the physicians.
So this happened to you? You got airlifted?
Yeah.
While
and
skiing?
it's like, why would it be?
Dude, you're like 5 episodes.
Bro, I've had a lot of like crazy accidents.
Well, the other
we
thing-
didn't even get into like how you grew up or anything.
I've had a lot of crazy. I mean, I was an active kid.
Clearly,
I was an active kid. I like to fuck around.
Lucky you're alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing too is sometimes the route as the crow flies is shorter than the driving route.
True.
You know what I mean? Or like even like the helicopters have their own rules and stuff that they have to follow. There's certain areas that they can't fly and stuff like that. So it might have just been a more convenient route to go to that hospital as opposed to the other hospital, even though it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's just a closer trauma center.
Or most likely it's a capabilities issue.
But does the chopper have the same capability as an ambulance?
Oh yeah, they're actually more
cardiac arrest.
It has the paramedic, and the paramedic has gear the same as the ambulance. Yeah.
And it's a completely different training. Yeah, like air pharmacology, helitac pharmacology is a completely different thing because like the altitude will affect how the medications work within your body and stuff too. So yeah, those helicopters are pretty freaking amazing, man. They can outfit them to be an air ambulance if there's an accident, and they can get anywhere in the city, dude. From air ops, like in Venice, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The very southwest corner of our district.
Mm-hmm.
Our closest trauma center is UCLA Ronald Reagan, which is in Westwood. Okay, so you're talking about like from Marina Del Rey to Westwood. If it's like 5 o'clock, 5:30, that might be a 40-minute drive from where we're at over there to
sirens on. Yeah.
So
even with the sirens on.
Even with the sirens on.
Yeah.
I mean,
traffic's crazy, dude.
If you make the decision to get on the freeway, you get caught in traffic on the freeway with the patient dying in the back and not be able to get out. You know what I mean?
It happens.
It happens, dude. Or even just like going down Venice Boulevard, you get to where there's like a center divider and you get, stopped somewhere for whatever reason. You're stuck in traffic. You're stuck there,
Pick someone up in the harbor, you could be stuck on the bridge down there, And there's
so
nothing you can do
I've
about
thought, thank God it hasn't happened. But if I ever get like a kid trauma in that part of our district, at that time of day, like everything has to align, I'm gonna call a helicopter. They can land right at Venice High, right on the field, and you take them, you drive your ambulance to wherever hella spot that you've designated for that call. You could shut down an intersection and have the helicopter land right in the middle of the intersection.
Because it's a kid.
Well,
anybody if you need
anybody really, but for me, adults, I kind of have a better idea of how well you're doing, how much time I have with you. I can talk to you, can answer questions, or just by your vital signs and stuff. Like I can figure out how I can maintain you until we get to the hospital. Kids tend to do okay and then fall off a cliff and just take a nosedive with their condition if they're really bad, if they have like internal bleeding or something like that, or some sort of serious trauma. A kid will be really resilient and hold themselves up to a certain point, and then they just take a nosedive. Yeah. So, and there's not a whole lot I can do for kids. If you're a small kid, like I'm not allowed to intubate. If you're a certain size, it's real difficult to get IVs.
Less
if you're a certain size,
use.
All your medications are different. They're very specific, dosages and stuff like that. And a lot of them we can't even give to kids. So for me, a kid having a trauma in that area to me is a way more complex call than having an adult,
So for like kids, what I'm wondering is it more fatal for like the accidents? Are accidents more fatal for like same accident?
Yeah.
Is it more fatal for a child than it is for an adult? Because I feel like if I cracked my skull in half now, I'd be dead.
Yeah.
Versus when I was like 7.
Yeah, it's like I said, man.
Bounce back.
Kids are actually a lot more pliable. They heal a lot better, a lot quicker. But it's just like I said, they compensate really well until they can't anymore, and they take a nosedive.
So to you as the paramedic, you can't tell how bad it is, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit,
they're dead.
So that's why you make the decision like, I'm gonna get a helicopter for this. I don't want to be stuck in traffic and
there was
somebody takes a dive.
There was actually a helicopter crash just a couple years before I got hired. What was it, like 98 that happened?
Yeah.
But it was a traffic accident. in the valley, and it was a kid that was injured in the accident, trauma, and called the air ambulance. Landed, loaded up the kid, and they were flying her to Children's Hospital in Hollywood here, and the tail rotor fell off the helicopter, and it spun and it crashed into a ravine. That guy, there was one survivor. The medic in the back actually got I might be messing this up who got it, but I'm pretty sure the medic in the back got a posthumous Medal of Valor, because as it was spinning and going around and the pilot yelled back, to brace themselves, he unstrapped himself and walked over to the little girl's gurney and tightened all her straps and then got back to his seat and sat, and they were all killed in the accident except the one pilot, I believe. But yeah, that guy wound up getting a posthumous Medal of Valor for securing the little girl better. Unfortunately, they all passed, but it's a crazy job, man, being a helicopter medic. The training that's involved, but you're not only when you're heli-tac trained like that, you're not only going on like medical calls, but you also do rescues, cliff rescues, up in the Hollywood Hills and stuff like that. You also do when there's like a brush fire and stuff like that, because those helicopters, they can be outfitted for air ambulance, or they can be fitted with the bladder to do airdrops and stuff, water drops. But when you're a heli-tac guy, you do all that stuff. You know what I mean? So that's a pretty interesting job within the fire department.
Yeah, for sure, man. And it's also the sheriff, CHP, they all operate air ambulance helicopters. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, a lot of their like SWAT teams, one of their guys we trained as a paramedic too. Sheriffs and LAPD.
Sheriff's Air 5 picks up hikers off mountains all the time, over the side. That's who will help get them a lot of times. Yarma, great guest, dude.
Thank you.
We're gonna have to have you back on and explain the 20 other things that happened growing up, man. Where can they follow you for the new people who aren't already following you?
You can find me on my Instagram, Yarma Crazy, or Yarma Not Too Crazy. That's my side Instagram as well.
Two Instagrams,
backup
bro.
account.
Yeah,
that's when you've made it.
Right? I haven't gotten the backup account status yet.
You could also follow me on my TikTok, which is Yarma Crazy, or Yarma Kinda Crazy. Just different iterations of crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy.
And then my YouTube, which is Yarma Crazy as well.
Excuse me.
Or just look me up on Google. I'm on there too. Yeah. It's actually pretty fucking
The backup
simple.
YouTube is coming.
The backup
Yarma Kinda Crazy YouTube is on its way. 2023.
Exactly. And the backup TikTok's already made too.
Nice.
So it's just have to have that backup.
All right, man. All right. We're going to learn from you, sir. Danny.
You can follow me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
Follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like Benign Humor on Instagram and Twitter. Follow our show at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or at PRC Podcast on TikTok. You can also find us on YouTube. It's PRC Podcast on YouTube, right? No, it's PRC Pod.
PRC Pod on YouTube.
PRC Pod on YouTube.
Or just search.
Or you can email us, contact prcpod@gmail.com if you want to buy our merch. We have our brand new t-shirts. Danny's rocking one right now. I don't know if you...
prcpodcast.myshopify.com.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can officially buy it instead of, I've got to change this.
We've had
this end announcement now.
You do, man.
Right? Don't be emailing me for t-shirts. Go to the Spotify.
Please don't email Ben. All right, please.
All right? I will turn you away.
Go to the Shopify again. It's prcpodcast.myshopify.com. We've already had a bunch of orders for the new t-shirts. I'm wearing
get
one
yours
right now.
in, brother.
So yeah, if you guys want to support the podcast, like I said, it's all been word of mouth so far, and
be the cool guy.
The first group of t-shirts sold out pretty quick. So we've got these new ones with the new logo. We've got some magnets coming, stickers. Those got ordered today, so they should be here in about a week or so. So check out the shop, guys, and help support the podcast. Get a t-shirt or two.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you.